Okay, hi, welcome everyone. I want to talk to you today about writing in the disciplines, and this is the kickoff to our third learning module. So we focused on reading in the disciplines um, in our last module, and this module is focused on writing. I understand that there's lots of overlap in with these literacies, but we want to focus in specifically on writing for the next few weeks. And our culminating project is going to be what I call the DWG. It's the Disciplinary Digital Writing Guide. So you are going to be creating a writing guide for your students that's going to sort of walk them through a writing assignment that is authentic to your discipline. And then as your colleagues, we're going to be working our way through that writing guide and giving you some feedback. So I want to kind of cover both of those things for you in this slideshow. And we'll talk about writing to learn and learning to write. If you remember, in our very first week of the class, I gave you some videos to watch to sort of preview what we were getting into. And Elizabeth Burr-Mohay was speaking, I think, at a TED conference in one of those videos. And she talked about how there was this false distinction in elementary school where teachers will make the distinction between students learning to read or reading to learn. And she says that's a false distinction because students are learning to are using both every day. They're both learning to read because they're learning the disciplinary ways of reading, and they're reading to learn all of the time. And all of us are as readers. So I think the same is true of writers. I think because those disciplinaries or those literacies are so intertwined. That the same is true with writing. Granted, we're not trying to learn how to form our letters necessarily when we're learning to write. What we're doing is learning to write in the discipline. So I want to talk to you about those distinctions and how they apply to the digital writing guide, which is again the culminating project for this unit, for this learning module. I'm going to talk to you a little bit more in depth about the digital writing guide assignment, but do keep in mind that the resources, the assignment description, and an example are included in the module. But I just kind of want to go over it in an overview with you. And then I want to talk to you about assessing writing, because if we're going to give students writing, if we're going to use writing in our classrooms, we need to know how to assess it and make it part of learning for our students. So those are our goals for this slideshow. We'll start off with writing to learn. Okay, these are sort of informal approaches to writing in the classroom. You'll remember in the last unit in the reading module, we read about and talked about getting every student in every subject to read every day. So writing to learn activities are sort of those type of activities. They provide students with the opportunities to write in order to process and share with you what they are learning, okay, in process. It's happening now and they're writing. It's usually not formally graded, or if it's graded, it's not about necessarily the quality of the writing, but it's about the quality of the ideas. So these could be paraphrasing, summarizing, organizing, linking new information with the old. So that's the goal of these activities. They're trying to create those neural pathways that help them tie new information with information that they already knew. That's how they're going to be able to understand it, make sense of it, and recall it when they need it. This allows you to monitor their comprehension. If they're writing to learn, they're turning in exit slips and they have not understood what happened that day, you'll know right away, and you'll be able to go back and plan your instruction accordingly. You might ask them to elaborate, synthesize, or critically interpret something that they've read or something that they've viewed in class. One that I love to do is having students self-reflect on their own learning processes. So I asked you to do this in the midterm meetings that we had. You didn't have to write about it, but a lot of you did. I noticed you came with notes, and so you had written about how you were doing in the learning process in the course. Okay, now keep in mind, this is not simply copying notes. A lot of times you'll say, oh yes, I have students write. You'll hear instructors say they have students write in their course every day because they tell them to take notes. Okay, but we're not talking about just taking notes, just simply copying notes or saying, hey, be sure and take good notes, right? Students don't know what that means in every discipline. It means something different, and there are lots of different ways of doing it well. So when you come back and you review this slideshow, this is a link that'll take you to a website with some just great tips on how to use notes and help students write good notes effectively in your course, because the research is out there that when students take good notes and use them, take them and use them, they learn better, they learn more, and they retain it longer. Okay, so this is a low stakes or formative assessment. Formative means it's done in the process of the learning experience. Okay, it's not at the end where they have to, take the test sort of and prove that they know what they've learned. This is low stakes, not worth a whole lot of their grade, except in the fact that they're doing it and participating in it, and it's meant to help you make sure that everyone's on the right page. Okay. Now we have some prompts. Okay, so I want you to take a look at these. I'm going to move my little talking head out of the way. I want you to take a look at these, and I want you to think about which ones make sense in your discipline. Okay, what one, they might all work for you, right? Or maybe only one or two stick out to you. Which ones stick out to you, and why do you think that they would work well in your discipline? Think about that. Okay, there we go. Now, learning to write in the disciplines. Okay, so again, we're not talking about how to form letters, what makes a sentence. Maybe we still are in ELA, but across the disciplines, we are talking about how do people in this discipline write? What do they write? Why do they write it? How do they write it? Okay, and so you're giving students the opportunity to explore the unique writing that happens in your discipline. This is usually formally graded. And it can be graded both on the quality of writing, because you want it to suit what people in your field would expect, as well as the ideas. Okay, so your digital writing guide is going to be one of these learning to write ideas, not one of these listed on this page, but I mean, it is going to be a learning to write activity. It is going to be an assignment that students are expected to perform in a certain way. Okay, so this might be lab reports if you're in a sciences class. This might be proofs if you're in a math class. It might be composing music and lyrics if you're in a high-level music class where that's required. It's whatever the traditional writing assignments in your discipline are. It could be high stakes, or it could be low stakes. It could be formative, but it is going to be organized and a little bit more extensive. Okay. Here are some examples of narrative writing within the disciplines. I think narrative is wonderful. Narrative means sort of story writing. It can be personal narratives, or it can be narratives about others. And I think that narrative writing doesn't get enough air in terms of what we ask students to write. So we're always asking them to do expository writing, persuasive writing, but I think narrative writing can be really powerful tool as well. And so this is an area of research that I'm really interested in. You absolutely do not have to choose one of these, but you could if you like them, if one of them strikes you. So take a look at these and then tell me what you think about these ideas. Blogging in the disciplines is another idea. This again is a sort of a less formal one. It lets students think less about, oh, I have to turn in this paper for a grade, and think more about their audience and what it is, what's important about their topic that they want to convey to other people. Okay, and so it kind of creates community, because you can have students working either in small groups on blog posts or individually on posts that go into a larger blog. So it's sort of collaborative in that way. It helps students self-monitor and work on metacognition, because they're able to compare their thinking and writing in the field along with the other folks who are contributing to the blog. It can be a safe environment for students who don't feel comfortable with sort of public speaking or even raising their hand, if they feel more comfortable writing. And it's just a nice digital platform where students can sort of self-reflect and share. You can also share it out. If you have students create a blog, you can share it with your school community, which is kind of cool for some students. So that's something to think about. You could go that route. Again, this is your choice, but I'm just trying to give you some ideas. Here are some literacy extension ideas. I have found, and the research bears out, that when students have to teach other students, they learn better, right? When I was training to become a writing teacher, I learned grammar better than I had ever known it because I had never really thought about it. I spoke that way because my mother was an English teacher and she made me. That's how we talked at home. And so formal writing in school came really easily to me because that's how my mother made me speak all the time. And that's why some of our students, oh, I'm not a good writer. I write like I talk. Well, it just so happens that the way you talk is fine for communicating, right? There might be different ways that we communicate in school. There might be different ways that we communicate for different audiences. But the fact is that communication is communication. So when students start to think about the things that they're learning in your discipline and how they would help a younger student learn those or understand those, these can be really powerful ways for them to take ownership of that learning. So check out these ideas. If you haven't determined what it is you want to do for your disciplinary writing guide yet, consider these. Okay, take a moment and just read these if you would, and let me know what you think. Again, these and the ideas from the last slide, I'm not making these up. I went and looked for what teachers in the different disciplines were doing. Okay, so I'm not leading you wrong and just imagining things that I think would be good. These are actually being used by teachers in your different disciplines. So take a look. All right, and tools that you might find useful when you're doing literacy extension. These are just some different digital tools. Feel free to take a moment, pause, check these out, okay? And here is an overview of the digital writing guide, okay? The full description, again, is going to be in the module, and there will be an example. I created a digital writing guide about making a digital writing guide, which I thought was very meta of me. So review the assignment and the description. You can use S'more, you can use Google Sites, use something free, okay, use something that you don't have to pay for. Do not use a Word document, okay? These are meant to be digital. These are meant to be multimedia, okay, mixed media creations. So use something that lends itself to that. Double check your links, okay? You're providing links. Make sure they work. Make sure that you include the links to the texts that you're referring students to, because we are going to act as your students and we're going to need to be able to access the content, okay? If you use Google Sites, just like when you use Google Slides, if you use texts that you've created, you have to give everyone access to them, okay? You have to make sure you set those share settings properly, all right? Be sure the assignment is clear because your peers will be working through it, okay? We're going to have at least 2 peers be the student, talk about the resources they liked, talked about what resources they didn't like, offer you insight on how you could clarify, and talk about why you believe the guide would be useful, how maybe it could be more useful, where you think it would be most useful, all that kind of good feedback, okay? So this is what we'll be doing in the coming weeks in this module. Excuse me. All right, so when you assess writing, these are some things to keep in mind. We're assessing disciplinary writing, okay? It's something that develops over time. Think about it holistically. Think about it as a process. You're not necessarily grading for every aspect every time, okay? That's going to save you a lot of time as an instructor. Unless this is a very finalized piece, you say, okay, I'm focused on this idea, or I'm focused on this particular element. That's okay to give students feedback on that element. Do not try to turn yourself into a grammar teacher unless you are an ELA teacher who is teaching grammar, okay? That's not what you have to do, all right? And here are some prompts for offering feedback. So take a minute and look at these. Think about which ones you would like to have and let me know what you think, okay? Thanks so much, and I will see you in the module. This slideshow will be posted in the module so that you can go check out the link and just review any of this information that you want. Check out these prompts again without having to come all the way through the video. So I will see you soon, and have a good day.